Hello, everyone. Russell Wright from networkempire.com and themezoom.com. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to attend the ThemeZoom members-only monthly Bring Your Own Website audit and demo. We do have Sue Bell with us. She's the master architect, the pretty much the person in charge of seriously technical website construction. She's also the queen and the dominatrix of market domination and SEO integration. I'm Russell Wright, neuromarketer extraordinaire, and all this other stuff that you probably are very familiar and maybe even tired of hearing about. But this is what we do. I'm mostly responsible for the conversion, images, graphics, calls to action, distraction, reticular activation, anything on a website that's designed to suck people in and get them towards the transaction faster than most people are really doing that. Okay, so between both of us, we integrate a high-level system called the Downstream Perpetual One Web Traffic System. You've also heard it called the One Feed to rule them all. It actually incorporates everything, all of your auto blogs on your second layer, your creating page rank out of thin air on your third ring, your conversion and driving all of that back upstream to your money site and converting as quickly as possible. We are going to be releasing to the general public over the next few months the stuff we've been sitting on for 5 years. So we're pretty excited about that. As you know, we have a certification event coming next month. We're going to talk about all of this today. I'm mostly going to be sitting in the background because this monthly call was created out of a deep desire of our members to get some mentoring on how to generate website silo architecture effectively. Yep, it's still working, folks, like gangbusters. It's working amazingly well, as long as you know what you're doing. So with no further ado, I'm going to step out of the way. We're going to talk about it. And if anybody has brought a website, they have the courage to bring a website onto this call, and I know it takes a lot of guts to do that because we will rip it to shreds and put it back together if it needs to be. But in the end, we have got a lot of feedback from people. They're very grateful and very excited about how we did help them. Remember, we're doing this for you. We want you to rank for thousands of keywords, not just one or two keywords, and with far fewer inbound links than what is normally required. Okay, this is not about fiber gigs, folks. This is about ranking naturally through buoyant page rank by properly siloing and structuring your website, and knowing how to do that in your sleep rather than constantly asking yourself, geez, am I doing this right? There shouldn't be any doubt. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. If there's any questions, please do use your questions and poll system. I will be answering those questions while Sue goes through all the various things we're going to talk about today. We are going to reveal some things that we don't normally reveal because we are ramping up for certification. And Sue and I get excited about it. We've also finally decided to reveal the downstream traffic system in its interesting but incomplete form to most of our members. I'm driving into Phoenix, and we're going to be doing some video shoots in the upcoming next week or two. So we're very, very excited, so you get the benefit from that excitement. All right. Thanks for joining us, Sue. Let's just jump right in and get technical.
Oh, thanks, Russell. I can't tell you how much fun it is to be here today. So over, I don't know, 4 years ago, something like that, I seriously started trying to dominate markets. We had Kraken finally in our hot little hands, and I set about trying to do everything manually. And I got to a point where I was pulling my hair out, and as you guys know the story, that's how Domain Web Studios started. And this quarter, we're finally achieving a 7-year-long dream of mine to have the entire thing on autopilot. We've got an alpha product built, and we're working on the beta. We're hoping to have the beta product released by the 1st of March to our certification members, just in time for the certification event. And is it okay, guys, if I take a few minutes and just talk about it, because I'm just too excited for words?
Let's see. We seem to be getting a lot of yeses being typed in the chat window. Yes, please do.
Right.
Oh, don't stop. Here's another one.
So I have the image. You guys can see my screen, right? I got the image of the web rings up. And inside the members area, in the regular members area, what we spend most of our time talking about is WR1 and WRS1. right? These two circles in here. And basically, it's challenging enough for most people to come in and just construct a silo website and get all of their ducks in a row in terms of what they need to do for social media and third-party platforms to be able to get their content going. So we haven't really talked too much about what happens in these other rings inside the members area. And what we're in the process of automating at this point, we've had aspects of everything built out and tested for several years now, but what we're getting ready to automate is the ability to, as you construct the DNA braid for your money site, there's going to be an extra box called EKDNA, which is your empire keywords, right? So we have had a beta of this running around for about a year now that guys have been testing. And what happens is you find all of these great keywords and you choose like your primary theme and a couple of synonyms and a couple of supporting keywords for a page, and you've got maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 good keywords about that idea that you're not going to use. So you drop those into your EKDNA. And then once your blueprint is finished, what's going to happen is Domain Web Studio, well, it's not going to be called Domain Web Studio at this point, right? It's going to be Network Empire. A Network Empire is going to be able to automatically take all of that information, and you're going to do some configuration. You're going to drop in the domains that you want to use, and it's going to automatically set up hosting. It's going to set up diversified IPs, and it's going to use your keyword, your EKDNA, to create all of the pages and all of the silo structures in all of your rings, both the WR2 and the WR3 rings. Okay? In addition to that, our team has been working furiously to find ways in which we can apply the social aspects of these rings in a timely manner to be able to keep up with the automation. So you're going to have, you have such a great name for that, Russell. What's it called?
I have like 5 names that I make up on the fly at every turn that I can.
Pick one.
Are you talking about the general downstream perpetual traffic system?
No, I'm talking about like the socially enhanced web ring thing.
Yeah, well, it's the socially activated.
That's it.
One web ring sounds. We get a lot of questions, you know, for example, of people who just want us to build these web rings for them, guys. And hopefully those of you on this call will be helping us sell those to the general public if you're an agency and the rest, because Sue almost has it nailed down to the point where we know how much these things cost. And I don't know if you guys know what an incredible feat that is to be able to price out, you know, how to build a network depending upon size, starting from the, you know, competition of a keyword all the way down. So, you know,
right.
That's why it's taken 5 to 7 years, because, you know, the environment's always changing. But we do have constants now that give us a really good scope on how much it will cost to build this. So socially activated simply means that everything that you have from your WR1 site, it doesn't really matter. So you and I were talking about this last week. It doesn't really matter if it's a press release or a blog post or a video transcription, a video with a transcription on a sales page. You know, whatever it is, your primary traffic, that is your WR1, your web ring number 1 traffic, that's the red button here at the center of everything. It's the center of your universe. Everything that is written or created of any kind, media of any kind, is floating downstream to the outer layers. So ground zero, literally, like a nuclear detonation, you know? Ground zero is really where all of your content begins. And it seems like such a simple thing to understand, right? But it's not. We've dealt with hundreds of clients through the years that, you know, we continually try to come up with better and better stackable systems to teach, right? You guys have watched how we've tried to express that through different models and through the years. But there's a lot of different aspects to this dimension of ground zero, isn't there? There's, you know, in the past it's been 100% focused on PageRank for SEOs. But now, with Google's increase of desire for social signals and blog and ping, and, you know, you'll see that it's not just about mere PageRank and creating hubs anymore. It's also about constant update and being able to track your traffic and distribute that traffic, distribute that content to other platforms downstream. Well, what we just really want you guys to be the first to understand is that those layers around ground zero are where that content in various spun or changed or transformed or even truncated or repurposed form will be sent downstream. Domain Web Studio and all of our software is really about making all that automated for you, so that you're just literally, when Sue and I are talking about a personal brand broadcasting network, we're not necessarily saying you got to stand up and hold a mic to your face and have a camera on you and doing video, right? Some people do provide that kind of content. We're talking about any kind of content for any kind of business model at ground zero, WR1. When that content goes up, it should be repurposed, redistributed, automated intelligently downstream to WR2, WR3, WR4, kaboom, right? It's a detonation. And that's why you need a computer. You can't trust us. We know. I mean, like I was sitting in my office till 2 in the morning. I'm working with one of my teenage daughters who works part-time at our SEO and social media firm here, setting up Twitter armies and doing all these things. And, even she is able to get what it is that we're doing, right? So you just have to be able to make sure that your content, only tweet thyself, only distribute thyself, only repurpose thyself from ground zero. And that's really what our social web ring system is about. And we'll be getting more and more into this at the certification event, which, by the way, there are still 2 seats left. So if you're thinking about coming, give us a call. We had a expansion. We decided to expand the conference room because we had such a response for certification. We actually filled it up, and we've been, getting together our whole video, because you're going to get the whole thing on DVD and the rest. So anyway, I hope that gives a general insight into what it is that we're actually automating. And you guys can probably imagine the size of that kind of automation. So, taking 5 years is when you really look at we have to roll with the times while we're actually incorporating all the stuff we've done in the past. So it's really exciting stuff.
Yeah, it surely is. Because, linking structures, linking pyramids, tiered linking structures have been around for a while, and there are a few other people out there who offer them and who have been offering them for years, but they don't meet my standards.
Yeah, in fact, Sue just wrote an article this morning. Sorry, Sue, I wanted to make sure they knew. If you guys hit our blog at networkempire.com/blog, I just hit the publish button. She gets into this. We're going to talk about this today. We're not just going to be referring you to other places, but I do want you to grab that one because, you just go on Fiverr and there's like 555,000 link pyramid schemes. Like, we will give you 59 million comments to the wiki links that we send to your site, which we then drive Twitter retweets to, which we then, hey guys, it's really cool. These things are not necessarily bad in and of themselves when you do them yourselves the right way, but this thing is that, well, actually, let me be careful what I'm saying. I'm not suggesting you do link pyramids. I'm not suggesting you do comment stacks or wiki pyramids or even hubs until you know what you're doing. What's really cool, when Sue and I are sitting around and we're looking at new stuff, because we like to entertain ourselves sometimes, like occasionally we'll click on a Warriors forum, new product just to laugh at it, usually, but we'll pull it open and we'll look at stuff. If it's not fitting into our unified view of the universe, it's not that we have the only view of the online universe, okay? But it is the most integrated that I've ever seen. So when you open a package and a software and you're looking at it, you have to ask yourself a couple of questions. Like take this new social media traffic system that just launched, right, on Warriors Forum yesterday. Does it help you tweet thyself? Does it help you socialize yourself downstream? In other words, looking at this web ring right here, when it tells you it's going to give you perpetual backlinks, are the backlinks that it's creating pointing back to your site? And is it easy for you to do that? You guys understand that? In other words, if they're just giving you a bunch of various backlinks, it's got to be your backlinks to your hubs. And it has to clearly define where it's driving that traffic. And it has to take into account the difference between WR1 and WR2. Our Domain Web Studio actually integrates that all at the structural database level. Nothing on the planet does that, because it costs a ridiculous amount to build that software. I mean, take it from us, and time. We've done that for you. We've done that for you. I get excited because when I want you to be able to walk away from some of these, private webinars, knowing full well. I want you to be able to look at a product that you're thinking about buying and asking yourself, does this drive traffic upstream from an automated downstream traffic system? does this get my social media, Pinterest pages, tweet pages indexed in the search engine so that those are also backlinks? Does it give me actual real physical traffic based on the quality of a highly addictive headline while it's doing all the things that we just mentioned? Can I do this on a massive scale so that's working while we sleep? Like, right now, Sue and I have a massive Twitter army that is simultaneously creating a huge number of backlinks while driving traffic. I logged into one of my Bitly. I logged into one of my Bitly accounts last night because Sue hasn't had time to create a link shortener for me yet. It's in the works. So I logged into a Bitly account last night. It's getting an average of 47 to 57 clicks per Twitter on high converting addictive headlines for one of my clients. And I started laughing because I consolidated. I looked past the 30 days in a master Bitly account. I'm getting something like 1,500 clicks in a particular type of market based on the way that we set up your WRS2s, your WRS3s. And to me, this was like I hadn't peeked in there for a couple of months. So think what's happened there, folks, is that all of those clicks, Bitly only registers the clicks in general. If those were clicks that were links from the way that most people do content curation or linking, it would be linking to other people's websites with no rhyme or reason, right?
Right.
But the way that Sue has designed this whole thing, and that I've decided, is that these click back upstream to your primary hubs. Sometimes to your primary WR2 domains, sometimes to your primary W1s. And this is all automated, you guys. This is just one aspect of this.
Exactly.
Go ahead, Sue. Sorry, I just got excited.
I mean, the thing I love about it is that the domains are diversified, so there's no problem with Twitter coming and checking to see if all of your links are pointing to the same domain.
Yeah.
You're getting all of your social media, all of your third-party platforms, as well as all of your W2s and W3s domains in there, depending on what ring of the Twitter army you're looking at. And it's insane, actually.
And deeper pages, too. Like,
yeah.
I shot up 15 ranking positions for a WR1 keyword, Sue. I haven't told you this yet. And all that was happening was just creating some, following our method of creating some backlinks using Pinterest and Twitter. And, this is not the only method we recommend, obviously, but I'll take the tiebreaker, on that stuff. And, also I'm finding that backlinking with Twitter for deep links on sites deeper in the site is really cool, too, as long as they're WR1 Twitter accounts,
Right.
It's kind of fun. I mean, we're not talking huge ranking lifts, but I'm getting anywhere from 4, in this one case, 15 positions fluctuating. And that fluctuation can be stabilized through the other link methods that you're going to be talking about today. So
exactly.
It's really nice. Easy while we sleep.
Exactly. And the thing that I love the most about it is that as you build this out, you're actually building something that's valuable to your business. So it's not just like, I look at these other link building schemes and people are selling linking tiers and the humongous price that they're selling them at. And at the end of the day, even though they're your domains on some of these offerings, you still what value is it actually aside from page rank? What value is it? Are people actually going to come to these sites and click through to your money site? Is the content quality good enough? Usually not. I haven't found anybody's system that I think I would want to actually click up to the money site. So you're just betting 100% on Google and on the page rank, and I just as soon diversify my portfolio, and that's why we integrate the social media along with each of the domain rings so that you're actually driving traffic, you're actually reaching out into the social stratosphere, grabbing people who are interested in your topics, pulling them back, and sending them to your money site. So it's a win-win-win. You can't tell I'm excited, can you?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting stuff. And so we want you guys to start throwing questions. Today we're going to focus on the big picture, as you can see. That's kind of, Sue woke up this morning, we were talking, and she's like, today we really want to focus on the big picture. And keeping in mind that, Sue's expertise far exceeds mine in website silo architecture. So when I think website silo architecture, I'm primarily focused on WR1. But we're going to be making it really, really easy for WR2, the whole network empire system, which our estimated launch date on the full integrated system, Sue, is, what did you say it was again?
Beta is going to be 1 March.
Okay, so that's the 1st of March. And
yeah.
That's pretty exciting, too.
Yeah.
And also, do you guys have any major questions that are on your mind right now? Start with Kevin. Is there anything within the system that you don't understand? I will admit that I have had some, not complaints, but some honest heart-to-heart talks with old-time students, people who have been with us for 5 years, specifically about my material on RSS feeds and how this whole thing is glued together. One of the things I'm going to be doing as I go over to our main offices at Sue's place is, with our kind of presentation with the One Web system, we're going to be showing how each one of our products glues this system together, like this powerful magnetic, this is why we call it the Perpetual lead magnet machine. Because the idea is like ground zero is where you're almost trying to create a black hole where you suck all your clients to your money site using all kinds of automated systems. And literally by putting out these giant ganglia of social media platforms that are carefully tailored and keyword organized and crawled and indexed, but more importantly also getting, not more importantly, but also important is getting the traffic from those headlines, right?
Yeah.
And that headline is what we teach a certification. The painkiller article method allows you to create articles that the headline is going to be unique each time, but it's also going to be highly addictive each time.
Right.
At that point, you just kind of suck everybody into your universe, which should be your WR1, website silo, high ranking, highly seductive and addictive, painkiller articles and or innovations. One of the things that we find the biggest challenge in our certifications, and I think, Sue, you probably vouch for this as well, is like it's hard for us to help people who don't have a product per se. I mean, they can learn all of our things, but what they end up doing is they end up wanting to sell our systems and our software and all this, right? Because they don't have an innovation. One of the things that we try to do is help them recognize that they don't have a product or that they're only working with an affiliate program. And we don't have a problem with that. We can help them with that with the business decision screen in DWS, right?
Yep.
But the main thing we have to make you aware of is that if somebody doesn't have a product and they come to us, the biggest challenge is, realizing what it is you're selling, what pain, we call this the $4 million research questions, or the ISDN, or the industry solution. What is the pain around this product, and are you competing with a ton of people, and what is that distinction? We cover that pretty much. We pretty much cover that for an entire day at the certification event.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and if you're not able to make the certification event, you guys just go into the members area and really spend some time on the ISDN, because where you start on your innovation and your industry solution, the innovator's dilemma, once you have that cracked, everything else follows. The keywords, the painkiller articles, the type of things that you tweet, those are all broken down into tweets. Ultimately, everything is segmented and broken down into Twitter, 247 characters that then drives traffic back to your site.
I know the lowest common denominator.
It really is. Twitter is the lowest common denominator of not only our technical cultural value, but also our psychological and our mimetic, or that's a fancy word for saying the slogans, the ideas, and the memes, if you will, that are being put out there. So all of this has to work together. And our biggest hope for you is to automate your systems within the next 2 or 3 months, if you have to do it all by hand, so that you are actually integrating this kind of power across every keyword, and more importantly, or at least as important, the social hubs as well, so that you're not, the thing that drives us nuts is seeing people, they got social media over here on their left, and then they have SEO over here on their right, and never the twain shall meet, as if they're separate.
Right.
It's just nuts.
Yeah, it's an important thing to, when you have that keyword DNA, you just use that keyword DNA all the way through all of your platforms, but it's not just that. You've got these great painkiller headlines, and you use those all the way through your entire marketing campaign.
Here's a question for you, Sue.
Okay.
The question is, do link farms or backlinking schemes like you were discussing in your article last, or do they have a time limit on them?
They definitely have a time limit on them.
Huh.
Google's always improving, since the majority of those, if not all of them, are geared toward providing page rank to your money site so that it ranks better. Google's always in the process of defeating that kind of automation, and so it will inevitably have a time limit on it. Even if that time limit is the end of Google, it's going to have a time limit on it.
Here's another one. Dear Sue, what do I do if I get an unnatural backlinking report from Google Webmaster Tools?
You know, I haven't had any of that problem personally, but guys that I've consulted with have said that they are having luck using the Google disavow tool. So I believe that those warnings come, actually, if those warnings don't actually come with a list of questionable links, then there are places that you can go to get those and go in and start with the worst of them and disavow them. And guys have said that their rankings have popped pretty quick.
Okay, that's great advice. Here's a question from Tony J. I can address, you can address as well. I've not gotten to the section as far as implementation, but my question is, does DWS create social accounts automatically? If not, what are future plans?
One of our certification students, they're just in the process of getting certified right now, hit me up and she said she's got this really great process where they create all of the accounts by hand. She's actually Filipino, and so she's got very reasonably priced outsourcers, and so I'm working with her. I want to test it. I don't pass on or recommend anything that I don't personally test. So I got to test it first, but I'm hoping that very shortly we can order that as have that as a DFY for you guys for a very reasonable price.
Okay, so that's one answer. Done for yous are obviously a little bit different than automated accounts, so let me speak to that, Tony. Gosh, I mean, I can honestly say that I have a ton of experience now with both automated account creation and personal creating social media accounts. And because of the way that we particularly create integrated systems, many of you on this call are probably incredibly familiar with how easy it is to get completely lost about what the heck it is you were doing to begin with when you're in the middle of creating a lot of accounts. Well, the system that Sue and I are talking about here makes sure that you don't.
Right.
Okay, so the one web ring system, and I give a lot of people advice. Sue, jump in here with your personal advice on this, and this is specifically what I'm doing. Until you really get clear on what it is that you're doing, just keep a one-to-one relationship with as many things as you can. As you guys have probably noticed, you know, open authority for Twitter often connects many things to many things. If you keep things Twitter persona-centric, like, you know, Sue and I investigated a software called Buzz Bundle, and all these other things. Buzz Bundle is a great idea. She ended up having to give software consulting advice to the developers about why it was wrong and these types of things. And this is not
just ways that it could be enhanced.
Yeah,
so
enhanced.
That we can
I mean,
use it for a more massive
I mean,
world
for us,
domination effect.
Right. If it doesn't work, guys, if it doesn't work downstream for us, we just like voted off the island within 24 hours, pretty much. So what I'm really saying is, like, I'm not trying to say anything bad about it, but it doesn't meet our standard of how we can really not trip all over ourselves and fall on our face when we're trying to say maybe do, you know, 1,000 counts that are automatically socializing downstream across three web rings. See what I mean? And, you know, once we looked at it, we could see that it did not. So what I would rather actually just organize my outsource team to create excellent personas manually across the ones that we know are working for backlinks and traffic,
right,
rather than try to have a mass system. Like, there was a few softwares out there, and you guys probably have used them, that, for example, would create only wire profiles on a massive scale. But here's the thing. Here's something for you guys to think about. What I've noticed is that profiles that don't float downstream, that is, they're not congruent with stuff that that is working upstream. You know, when I start automating my fan pages for WR2s and the rest, I'm not getting the same response if I haven't thought clearly about my personas. So the key is to keep the personas congruent for WR2 and not ever mix up your WR1, you know, branded personas with your WR2s. And we'll get more into this at a later time. So I am a total control freak. I would rather take my personas in-house and make sure that they're they're very clean and that the links are properly created on them. You know, and if you're testing a software and it's kind of mixing stuff up and you're starting to get lost, it's a pretty good sign that it's not Domain Web Studio, because we're pretty much, Sue's pretty much making sure that all of that stuff stays congruent. And we do have plans for incorporating those layers so that they never get mixed up. Like, for example, I'm going to tell you a true and terrible, horrible story about something that I did, and Sue, bite your lip, because I know you scolded me for this. I accidentally ran a feed, for example, through one of our automated WR1 blogs to our master theme Zoom account. And it was an accident because I, wasn't organizing. I wasn't using DWS properly, and I actually did something manually, God forbid. And so what ended up happening is I ended up having all these curation blog posts run through my main theme Zoom Twitter account, which is something like 20,000 authentic followers and this and that. And all of a sudden, even though I was sending traffic to a WR2 blog, it wasn't a branded blog. I mean, I had banners and stuff on it that sent people back to, our sales pages and the rest, but it was purely a WR2 social campaign, and it was an accident. I found it after 17 automatic posts over the course of 2 days, but only because a friend said, hey man, what the hell is this? So this was a while back, our new system prevents that kind of stuff from happening, you see? So these are the things that we won't ever let happen again to ours, and this is why Sue has designed it to make sure that stuff that the outsourcers are doing. It was my fault because I wasn't organizing the outsourcer. I'm not blaming them for that. So this is one of the things that we want to make sure that that you don't do. Ruben, I was speaking directly to Conrad's new plugin when I was talking earlier. I just didn't want to mention any names. So yes, I have seen the new RSS plugin, and I had asked him to create something different, because why would I want to scrape RSS? I mean, what he needed to create was an RSS parser. We're going to talk more about that a little later on. I don't want another plugin that I have to go in there and copy and paste the links in so that it'll get pinged. I mean, how does that fit into our downstream system? It doesn't. And I don't know how he got that from what I requested, but it's not what I wanted. Go ahead, Sue.
Tony, that's an interesting point about being able to actually import account information into Domain Web Studio. It wouldn't be a difficult thing to do. I'm just thinking about how we can make sure that you're importing the right things into the right accounts. But let me put that on my list. We will definitely look at that.
Yeah, it is actually on our list, Sue, of things to discuss, because
good.
I have no problem with WR3, like mass profile automation, but what we don't want to do is end up being something like, they did with tweet attacks before they went under, or before the code got sold to other systems. It's like, many of you have probably purchased those mass profile making systems. And the problem is that I've never got a return on investment on mass profiling. And so we would have to do it right. It's got to meet Sue's standards in, making sure that everything works. I don't care if you're generating 1,000 profiles with Gmail accounts and the rest. It still has to follow the principles of our downstream traffic and keyword, crawlability and social addiction system. It has to be integrated. So those profiles should still meet a standard. A lot of those things are just really poorly standardized. Like I remember making like 1,000 profiles with like TweetAdder's like auto profile system. It was so terrible because it was programmed. I'm sorry, not TweetAdder. Tweet attacks. Please retract my. I didn't mean to say TweetAdder. I'm so sorry. Tweet attacks. It's no longer in the market, so I don't have anything to worry about. I'm not talking about Tweet Attacks Pro. I'm talking about Tweet Attacks. The mass profile system didn't understand what Sue had created as far as a downstream traffic system, so there was no way to keep track of what we really needed to keep track of so that we pointed it properly upstream. So if you're going to, to the right web ring. So if you're going to create these types of things, I guess somebody's there too.
Okay.
Yeah. Certification student arrived early?
Exactly. Couldn't wait.
Another question for you, Sue, from Tony. Can the Silo Builder plugin keep account profiles instead of having to re-input this info each time we use the tool? These are just some of the things I've noticed being a new user. Yeah, Tony, don't get us started on the Silo Blog Builder stuff. We're in the middle of a rebuild, but I'll let Sue speak to that one.
Oh, hang on just a sec. You keep going, Russ.
You want to mute that? Okay, cool. So the Silo Blog Builder, are you talking about profiles within WordPress, Tony? Or, for example, author markup tags? No? You're talking about the specific profile in the blog? I don't really understand what you're talking about. Because the Silo Blog Builder tool is designed to make sure that you don't break, that you hoard PageRank on the upper pages with Silo architecture. So I'm not 100% sure of what it is you mean. Oh, you mean user profiles within a DWS account?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll let Sue speak to that one.
Yeah, so that was what I was saying. It's completely possible to be able to do that, and we'll put it on the list and take a look at it.
Wow, that means I completely misunderstood his question. He was talking only about the movement from DWS into the Silo Blog Builder.
Silo Blog Builder plugin. Oh, I was thinking you were on a different question that he asked. Sorry. Can the Silo Blogger plugin keep account profiles instead of having to re-input this information every time you use the tool?
He must be talking about DWS account profiles. I don't really understand the question. So
I don't either,
okay.
Because
you can speak, but we won't hear you.
The Silo, yeah. Hit me up on Skype later, and
we're going to do a closed mic right now, Tony. Although we are going to experiment with open mics in the upcoming months. Okay, but I do want to hear what you have to say. It's very important because we are making some ridiculously powerful changes to the Silo plugin. Yeah. We had a third-party company build the Silo plugin, and it's been okay to this point, and they're doing great with it. But we are going to create a more integrated version for the web ranks.
I've got a whole new spec on the board, and I'm ready to get it outsourced. So
yeah, it's exciting
I'm
stuff.
interested. If you've got a way that we can make this better, I'm all ears.
Yeah, let's definitely collaborate with it.
Cool.
What else is on your mind, Sue? Let's talk about what's on your mind with the. Can we get a sneak peek of the certification event? Can you give us away something that's only going to be there for certification students? No. Guess not. I just want to give these guys something on the call that's like, kind of special.
Pressure.
Let's talk about WR3s. I know that you didn't want to go there.
Okay.
So I know I'm going to get busted for doing this. Never mind. Here's another question. Brian, I wanted to talk about generating PageRank out of thin air, which is something that we do, and that's what really everybody wants. Can you give us just give us a few sentences, like this is the major takeaway on the certification event. When you talk okay, you guys know that it's possible to generate PageRank out of thin air, right? It's not magic per se. When I say generated out of thin air, it just means that so just give us an overview of what is PageRank, and can you demystify how to create it?
PageRank is created from links. If you have any page and it has a link to another page, that's going to pass a particular amount of PageRank. The amount of PageRank that it passes depends on the authority of the page that's passing that has the link on it. So in other words, I should be careful here. I should say an outbound link from a PageRank NA page isn't going to pass any rank. But from a PageRank 0, it will pass some. It's minute, but it's some. And if you get enough of them, it accumulates. But it's so much better to get a link from PageRank 1 or PageRank 2 page. They've got so much more oomph. So what I try to do when I'm creating links, let's say that I just started a Scoop It magazine, and I've got 0 PageRank. What I try to do is get some inbound links to my Scoop It so that it achieves a page rank 1 or a page rank 2 as quickly as possible, because then all of those links are going to pass more page rank to their destination pages. The more links you have on a page, the more that link juice is divided. So if you've got a page rank 1 page and it's got 100 links on it, you're not going to get too much link juice off of it. And it's kind of a toss-up between having a link off of that and having a link off of page rank 0 that's only got a link or 2 off of it. But I've seen a significant boost off of, say, a page rank 4 that's got a significant number of pages, like 20, 30, 40, 50 links on it. I've actually watched rankings increase from a page like that, much to my surprise, because I had figured that if you got more than like 10 links on a page, it's watered down so much. How much link juice are you really going to get? So,
yep, and that's what makes things like Scoop It interesting, you guys, and why it's part of our, that's when you're getting into like a curation starting point, for downstream traffic and the rest, is that, everybody's in the community there, and if you get scooped, you obviously get inbound links from other silos within the Scoop It server system to your page. So that's how I regularly get page rank 2, 3, and 4 on Scoop It pages. That happens quickly when you have content that's been curated well. Now, if you're not into curation, the principles of PageRank still stands. So that's what's kind of interesting about the curation movement is that when it's done properly and you have interesting content you haven't really created, you just kind of put a spin on it, and then it gets snagged up and then it passes link juice to you and hopefully traffic. So that's kind of why, curation's gotten popular, because if you're creating link bait, and novelty bait and things where content is addictive and then a bunch of people link to that, that's great. But what a lot of people don't really get is we're in the middle of this gigantic frame war. Curation, content curation should really be called frame wars. It's like, the idea, what now is happening is like we're in this mad rush to create nothing but suck all the page rank for yourself. And that's entirely possible. I mean, like we're pretty much doing it. but it's technical, and the more technical it gets, the more interesting the environment gets, and the more that Google adapts to that kind of frame war that's happening. What I mean by frame war is like, if I never created any, if somebody scoops a piece of content that somebody spent 7 hours creating, and they do it right, they can get slightly less or equal page rank depending upon where they're placing it. But then if they scoop that into another frame, at a certain point it gets kind of silly, right? It's a frame within a frame within a frame. But at the end of the day, if it generates traffic and page rank, do you care?
Exactly.
So it's a question of where you put it. And that's what that's what Sue's showing you here. The market domination system is designed to give you ridiculous amounts of superpowers to understand that how the whole frame argument works, so that you actually can attract and create the most page rank. At the end of the day, page rank is still the currency, despite what the content curators will tell you, including my friend Robin Good and the rest, who's trying to tell me it's about the quality of the content. Well, sorta. If that were true, then Guillaume, the creator of Scoop It, wouldn't be struggling to constantly create the value for SEO. So it's the same thing that has always been going on. Looks like we have another question from Brian. Sue, I'm going to shoot this out there. With the one feed to rule them all, instead of loading all of our articles into the blog builder, is it better to create them one at a time so that each article starts syndicating on a different day? That's a great question. And then he says, I'm probably thinking of the RSS feed automation. So you want to take a stab at that, and I'll jump in after you?
Well, the thing about... Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. So because the feed syndicates out, the way the one feed works, the way that RSS really works is you've got like typically your last 10 articles in your feed. And so Brian's question is it better to drip your content into your blog over time rather than just loading it all up initially? Mm-hmm. And I would say the optimal answer is both.
Right.
I would start with a reasonable framework of content on your site, and what the WordPress silo blog builder is supposed to do is set up all of your static pages for you, right? So if I have a website and a blog, what I usually do on the blog side is a more abbreviated theme mirroring of what's on the website. So for instance, let's say I'm doing an e-commerce site on my website, and so I've got silo pages, I've got category pages, and then down at the supporting article level I've got all my products. Then what I'm probably going to do on my blog is just have the silo pages and the category pages, and then I'm going to have, underneath that, I'm going to have blog posts about my products so that I can do updates on my products. Hey, there was a new upgrade to this particular product, or this particular product's on sale, or whatever. And so in that way I'd have those static pages, and I'd go ahead and build out those static pages because I need that framework there so that as I post blog posts, there's someplace for them to go. And then start blogging. And this is something that I don't stress enough in Domain Web Studio. We're actually going to go back and stick a tab in there. And I just kind of assumed that when everybody got to the promotion and syndication area that they would realize they need to blog to kick everything off. I don't stress it too much in the members area, and I don't stress it enough in Domain Web Studio. So
yeah, Tony, I hear you. Yeah, I'll jump in here and say that it's blog and ping is a whole different world in some ways than static architecture, and I'm going to take a stab to accentuate and support Sue in what she was just saying. Brian, to look at your question again, it's completely fine for you to put the whole content structure. I'm assuming with your question, you're talking about, when you're talking about the blog builder, you're talking about, let's say you've got 20 articles in Domain Web Studio, and you're about ready to hit you've got the silo plugin installed, you're about ready to hit go, and then splat, all of your articles are published, right? I have an opinion about this. It's like, don't worry about it, okay, because that's different than what's called blog and ping. Okay, that's different than machine gunning content out there, repurposing content, downstream automation, blah, blah, blah. Oh my gosh, you're like a broadcasting machine where stuff's going out every day. Well, you got to start with your site, your money site. That's a WR1 question. So if I hear your question arise, like, don't worry about that because your sitemap's going to get all those submitted. You're going to get indexed. Okay, right. Your XML should immediately in your step process should be the next thing you do once that content's up. Make sure your design's there. Make sure your persuasion architecture's there. Make sure your sitemap is there, right? You've got videos on the site, submit a video sitemap. And then that's your solid bullseye. That's where you're going to be driving all that downstream traffic back upstream through link shorteners, through Twitter, through your backlinking systems, through all the things we give you in the promotional content DWS. So I guess my point is, like, it's a great question. Like, if you've got, the question is, the answer is it depends. How big is your framework? Is it a 2,000 article website, that you're launching with? Because we have some of those.
Definitely.
If you've got 1,000 articles and you're asking us, should I drip out? Yeah, you might not want to publish all 1,000 of them at one go through DWS. You may not want to do that. I don't think it's going to kill you, but you might want to.
I wouldn't publish more than 1,000 at a shot. Actually,
yeah.
Google frowns on that.
They do, yeah.
Flag.
Yeah, I mean, even when the other answer to your question is it depends. Is this a WR1 blog or WR2? So for the sake of this discussion, we're assuming that you're creating a money site here. And if it's a money site, Sue's saying, 1,000. I start to get a little nervous, like at 1,000 or greater. But, there are times when you're doing mass article creation or private label content and the rest where all of a sudden, zap, one quick spin, you've got 2,000 articles for a money site. That's an authority site. There's no question that 1,000 articles is an authority site, okay? That's a monster project. You don't need that many articles to be insanely profitable and ranking with silo architecture. So hopefully that makes a lot. Then the next thing you start asking yourself is, okay, what am I going to do to republish that? That's why Sue and I are designing the incredible retweet machine, the tweet shredder we call it. Because you'll be able to take those articles and cut them one sentence at a time and make sure that, you just toggle your little switch and, every hour, on the hour, or every 2 hours, you'll spit out a little headline. That'll drive somebody back to one of the pieces of content in your site. That's what the tweet shredder is really all about, which we're finishing up. So once the main content is up there, there's a myriad of ways that you can create a transponder, is what I like to call it, Transponder is making sure that you're constantly publishing, at least every day, every other day. I prefer every hour on my WR2 layer. Content that's constantly penetrating into the social sphere and the social signal while giving you backlinks through crawlability and driving the traffic back upstream to your money site. Does that make sense, Brian? Okay, good. So hopefully you guys, yeah, and yes, Tony, I know you need diagrams. Again, as we gear up for certification event, where part of the reason I'm coming down there in the next few days to Sue, we're going to create some interesting maps to assist everybody in the generalities of how to use these tools and how to think about, you know, automatic versus semi-automatic publishing, kind of like versus your initial structure, so that you don't confuse those 2 or 3 things. Okay, great.
So, I could go back and go into a little bit more detail in regards to the blog posting thing. We have originally we had all of these processes in the promotion and syndication module, and they're broken out into a couple of different kinds of promotions.
Can we open that thing up, or?
Yeah, probably.
Just so people know what we're talking about, or? Because sorry, Sue, I just noticed that we have some people that I haven't seen before. They're not necessarily DWS users. They might be just membership users only.
Right.
So I just wanted to introduce them to the domain of Studio software, and thanks for joining us, guys. This is the actual application itself.
So let's try this one. So here we've got promotional content, we've got conversational content, we've got branding content, and we've got media syndication. And depending on what it is you're looking at, some of these things should point to your blog, and some of these things can point to your website. So in other words, promotional content can point to either. That can either point back to your blog or it can point to your website. Conversational content, these are like forums and groups and things like that. Those, because they're more hardcore social, those sorts of things should point back to your blog.
Mm-hmm.
Branding content is typically something that you want to point, that's like press releases.
Yeah.
And so that's stuff that you want to point back to your website.
Yeah, exactly.
And media syndication can point to either place. Right, that's like videos and audios, and so wherever your media is embedded, you can link back to there. So, so what I want to have happen is right in here between publishing your website and starting to do your promotional stuff. It's going to talk a little bit about your blog, and it's going to tell you that you should post to your blog at least twice a week, someplace between 5 and depending. I mean, if you're really trying to dominate a good-sized market, you might post 20 or 30 times a week, several times a day. So, so then typically what we do is we've got this thing we call a blog boost, where we've got 4 or 5 properties that we syndicate that information onto as soon as the blog post is published. And my idea has always been, for some of these other things, that you would come along a little while later, maybe a week later, maybe a month later, and re-curate that content onto other third-party platforms. And so up here in the beginning, where we talk about, I think it's in the setup link, no, manage your promotional blueprint. When you're managing your promotional blueprint, and you look at these, some of these charts show you the difference between what it would cost you for original content versus what it costs you for repurposed or curated content. This can be a couple of different things, right? This can be content that you've got just in files somewhere where you can scan it, or PDFs that you've had lying around for a long time, and you can just take that content and repurpose it. But it can also be your blog posts that you curate and repurpose. So There's a lot of ways there that you can actually take existing content and lower the cost that it takes for promotion. I had a couple of comments. Let me read and see what they're saying.
Yeah, no, this is good. An example of that, you guys, is that repurposed content can mean stuff that you originally create, or let me give you an example of repurposed content that took less than 30 seconds that took one of my clients 5 ranking positions in less than 48 hours. Okay, it was really kind of funny. And I felt bad because, again, I haven't explained this well enough apparently, and like Tony asking for a PDF, I can understand. This person had actually done what I said a year ago and created a Scoop It page, which now had gone up to page rank 3. And Scoop, we're not limited to Scoop It here, okay? There's like 10 other things are all in the promotional area in this application that Sue and I are collecting more and more every day. And, you know, she had been scooping her blog posts, which, again, this is the reason why Sue was saying we're going to create a new tab talking about, you know, blog, you know, rapid content, prototyping, and this type of thing, you know, just publishing. You know, she had created a Scoop It page, and she was scooping all the blog posts that she did. But the blog post, again, the blog is still a WR2B, right? It's a WR1B. It's a blog. It's a WR1 money site. Sometimes it's /money. I mean, sometimes it's /blog, and sometimes it's blog dot, you know, whatever. Right. But my point here is that she had remembered to scoop all those, but the whole purpose of the blog is to lift the primary please buy this dang product page high on the search engines. Okay? And you can still sell products off your blog, I know that, but remember, we're trying to get the core money site. In her case, her blog was separate than her money site. Okay? And then I realized that her blog was outranking her money site, which is where the real call to action of the transaction is. Right. So I had her scoop on her now page rank 3 page on her static site. Now, part of the reason she forgot to do that is because her static site wasn't in WordPress. It wasn't with all kinds of fancy widgets and this and that. She just forgot that those are actually real pages too. She was expecting her blog to provide all the inbound links and support and PageRank, right? Well, she started scooping the pages of her WR1 static blog. This happened to be on Conquistador, Sue, or on the other one, right? With one single scoop of a bookmarklet in her browser, she went from a 15 to a 9 and slipped right up on the first page of Google for a very profitable term with a single scoop that took less than 45 seconds. So this is what I'm saying. It's like that was a free repurpose of content within a WRS1 site, a branded Scoop It page that she had just overlooked. And so that's going to lower the cost. That's why repurposed content is something to really be aware of. It's repurposed because when you scoop it and put it in a WRS2 platform that has PageRank, it's going to drive a little bit of juice and traffic to the main site. So now she went through, of course, and scooped all the main relevant pages to that magazine on her WR1 site and is doing much better. All done within, what, 10 minutes, you guys? Okay,
yeah,
so
exactly.
We can't forget this. That was why we got to diagram this, make sure that you really understand how these networks are working.
Yeah.
Steve?
And if there's something like Scoop It that you don't find on this list, you can add those things to your proprietary customized property list up here.
And we give you extra credit, too, for letting us know about things so that we can test it.
Absolutely.
Sue has methods of checking to see, you know, send us an email on the help desk and say, hey, does this suck or not? You know, we'll tell you in about 10 minutes. So This is really what we want to help you guys with.
And there are some things out there, I can't remember now if it's Scoop It or Storify, that only allows you so many magazine categories. And if you've got more silos, you want more categories than what it offers, you can easily just have 2 accounts. And if you have 2 accounts, you can just add it again here as a second account. It'll make one of your accounts will be up here and the other account will be down here. And then just put it in the same kind of, like if it's a blog article thing that you're adding a second account to, add it to the same category here. And then when it comes up that you want to blog, you'll have those options. Your outsourcer will have those options to blog too. Oh,
that's cool. I love that. I can see also where we would. That's going to be an interesting thing that you're adding with the blog thing too.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and address even more questions. I'm strongly opinionated about Ruben's next question, so I'm going to let you answer it first, so that I remain guarded there. But I do want to just address Stephen. I saw what you're saying. Very interesting that you separated website silo architecture from persuasion architecture. giving persuasion a structure. I'm going to let you guys in on a little bit of the secret here. Hey, Sue, real quick, can you flip over to the one web ring, your
Sure.
prototype? Yeah. See that giant bullseye with all those different layers that could mean anything? It could mean whatever level of sophistication we want to give it. It could be hundreds of blogs in one of those rings, or it could be 2 blogs, just depending upon how you scale, all driven by the total search market value of an individual keyword, as well as combined with all the keywords within your EPA KDNA network, right? In other words, this is nothing but whatever we say that it is, okay? But I want to tell you a secret. There is only one single idea, or what I call an epimeme. People sometimes wonder what my company, Epimemetics, is really meaning. This is what I'm talking about. There's only one single idea that is a hedge against the uncertainty in any given industry. In other words, there may be more than one way to provide uncertainty insurance, but there's one idea that people are afraid of. There's one thing that they're afraid of, uncertain about, scared about, want to hedge against, or need help with, that is the most profitable compared to everything else. That is, when you find what that is, it drives all of your persuasion. There's a single sentence or phrase that you can use on a banner, on a text ad, on an inbound link, on your affiliate links, whatever, that is more powerful than anything else. Our ISDNA is designed to help you find that. And we drag you through a whole process, which is frequently asked questions to should ask questions, until Sue and I will finally extract what that single uncertainty pain line is. That is probably the most valuable thing about our persuasion or our conversion lessons at the certification event. When you find what that is, I'm noticing a conversion from my WR2 automated video blogs as I drive traffic to the WR1 sites of anywhere from 10 to 100% by the transformation of a single line or a single image on that banner. Once you find what that is, you have, Stephen, you have what we call your persuasion architecture. That doesn't change your silo architecture. It has nothing to do with your silo architecture, except that Sue and I have noticed more and more that your silo landing pages, when they're congruent with these pains, with the industry solutions and that you're offering, we always thought that everybody understood this, like we thought we were making ourselves clear back in the Kraken days. But what we did discover is that when we communicated with people, hey, your silo landing pages probably ought to have something to do with the problem that you're solving in the industry. Yep. And your product, which is hopefully your product. And if it's not, you're probably not thinking really clearly about why people buy from you. We thought people kind of just understood that. But what we now have is a system. That's part of the system to teach you, don't build silos on things that are only educational keywords in the beginning. Don't forget you're actually providing a solution to a problem in the industry. When you build your silo architecture out with that, while with your persuasion architecture in mind, Stephen, what you get is an increase of 50 to 100% in revenue on a monthly basis. So it's really, really important. Next question for Sue is, how do you apply all of this crazy stuff to the e-commerce site with almost zero content, like jewelry? How many words could you write about a ring? I'll let you jump at that one.
Wow.
I have a lot to say about it, so I'm going to let you go first.
If you can't find content to write about a ring, then you shouldn't be marketing it. I mean, first of all, the pages that lead up to your product pages, the silo landing pages and the category pages. As Russell was just talking about, you want to find the pains in the marketplace. You want to address the problems that you're solving. I mean, you look at Zales and all of their campaigns. Like they don't spend time talking about the jewelry. They spend time talking about the relationships, right? The relationship is where the pain is. So all you got to do is look at these guys that are spending buku bucks on marketing, and you get a pretty good idea of where the pains are. And then you back that up with looking in Quora and looking in Yahoo Answers and looking at other question and answer sites. What are the questions that people are talking about? What's the burning desire? And sometimes I have a client that sells dumpster rentals, right? I mean, there's nothing more dry and boring than dumpster rentals. So you got to go look at the why behind the dumpster rental, right? And it's the same way with a lot of different markets. You get some markets like health and wellness that are they're really juicy from a pain perspective. And then you get others where you got to go on a slightly tangent track to find the passion, the irrational passion that sits behind why somebody would want to buy that product. And then once you have that USP, once you know what it is that the pain is, then you can speak for miles about how this ring is the ring that your loved one will cherish and remember your love every time she looks at her hand.
Careful, we actually have a client in that market. So,
so
let's just put it this.
Client in every market.
Let's just put it this way: we found the nerve for that ring, and it's not what you think. So, what's really interesting is that this is complete. You can see what kind of a dilemma that Sue and Matt and I have been in over the years. The stuff that we're talking about right here is neuroscience. It really doesn't have that much to do with software architect or ranking and the rest, right? It has to do with conversion, and once you get them to the page, what's going on in their little head, which is a great mystery for many, many people, but not for us. And that's a beautiful thing about neuroscience, is that you're going to understand that everything has either an uncertainty or an irrational passion or desire. We do talk a lot about that in the courses that we do. Now, if you own a jewelry store, like you're saying that you do, everyone listening, this person is saying that he owns a jewelry store, so you know all the irrational passions of the thing. You've been with it for years. So you do, then Ruben, you do need to put that to words. In fact, people in your situation tend to overthink things. Like, for example, the fact that you're on the call listening to a sophisticated technical discussion on website style architecture tells me that you will probably overthink your branding on how to connect with why somebody is going to buy your marketing, okay, for your stuff. So the other way to think about it is this. Ruben, you need to list one page on your website that connects to those reasons why. And you're going to also have to connect through your branding. So once you have the purpose or the slogan, okay, as to why, whatever positioning you're going to take in the market as to why they should buy that ring and so on and so forth, once you connect and you figure it out, it's probably going to be the same thing that you do at the storefront, Ruben, the thing that almost always closes the deal. And again, if you want us to go through that, we can. But you're going to need to translate that to video and or to copy. And it's usually that simple. Don't try to swallow your entire market whole. Be worried about your 2,500 different silos and top-down things and, diamond jewelry and my 256, organized products until you have that one single thing. Once you have that, make that on the About Us page, make that about the landing page, and then you can start to break down the deviations or the variations of that uncertainty insurance or that irrational passion in the case of jewelry. Actually, the uncertainty, there's a huge amount of uncertainty insurance in the diamond industry in the form of marriage, engagement. There's nothing deeper than the desire to make sure that your mate doesn't run off with something else. That's what the ring's about, but don't get me started. So the main thing is that you put all that in to the major landing page. Once you have that, and then you start tapping into the keywords around that. We walk you through that process with the ISDNA process at certification. Okay. Or when you consult with us. And then you'll build out your structures, and then your keywords become more relevant because you can connect the emotional actions to the specific technical words. That's when you really start crushing it, is when your site design is high ranking and you're also connecting with in the design, in other words, conversion by design, the why power of your products and services. When all of those are working in a congruent alignment, you start converting hand over fist. And then you start building a brand and a product and a company that has a lifetime value and a return customer base that nets you millions of dollars instead of just the thousands of dollars you get for upfront sales. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay? And weight loss is the same thing, Ruben. You got to find what the underlying decision insurance and uncertainty insurance, what we call it, uncertainty insurance, is really all about in your particular product. Okay, you find it in general, and then you're going to find it specifically. Okay, hopefully that makes sense.
Cool.
Looks like the person who asked the question about Tribe Pro has left, but I'm going to still answer it anyway. You guys, when you're looking at automatic bookmarking services, Social Adder, SocialMonkey, or you're looking at networks of people who have what we call social ranking circles. Again, pay attention to the downstream traffic system and the socially activated downstream traffic system. Here's the thing that you want to look at. Yeah, SIND would be included, Ruben, precisely. This person was actually asking about Tribe Pro. Here's some things I would like you to consider, because I am a fan of certain things that I can do with these, but I don't use all of their functions. If you're involved in a service like SIND or Tribe Pro, which is a little bit different. That's actually a social group that you join and everybody agrees to share each other's stuff. You guys know what I'm talking about. What you have to ask yourself is, what is the common denominator? Is this your WR1 or your WR2? Don't test anything dangerous out on your WR1. Like, Sue would kill me if I did incredibly dangerous stuff with our Twitter account for theme zoom and the rest of it, right? All right, so we can't do that because they're personally branded. I do my testing on WR2 things. We are no longer a huge advocate of SIND at this point because we just don't fully understand where they're going with it. I'm just speaking for myself personally. I'm not necessarily speaking for Sue. What you really want, what I do like is services that when they retweet, when they tweet, when they pin, when they give you a video play, be very careful with that. What I like about services that have tribes or communities is that they're all logged on to different IP addresses. Okay? The fastest way to, and again, I'm not telling you to do any of this, never do anything I'm discussing with you right now with your WR1 stuff. Sue, can I say what you just typed, or should I not?
No.
Okay, we'll leave it just for him. Okay, with WR2s, where you have a Twitter army in the case of Sue or myself, or you have automated social thing that's driving traffic back upstream to your money site or back to your ground zero, I like services that tweet and retweet and do all those things as long as they're all coming from different IP addresses and there is delay on the follow rates, and they're specifically, the main issue for me is making sure that they're all coming from different locations. So when you're talking about things like the social tribe and the rest, they're safer than when you go and you buy a service that says, we will give you 100,000 views to your YouTube channel, right? Don't do that. I mean, I've gotten a couple of channels banned. I mean, I have dozens of channels, but I got a couple banned during tests that were test channels when trying to do that, because they're all they're doing is they're coming from an IP and they're just playing all those things. You don't want to do that. Okay, so I feel fine if social systems are all coming from different locations. But unless you're really technical enough to be sure that that's going on, when in doubt, send us a help desk request so that we can look at something, because I look at them all the time. But when in doubt, just don't do it. Okay, yeah. That's the thing. Like with social adder, I noticed some differential in some ranking fluctuations here and there. And they are going through multiple addresses and the rest, but to me the prices of of some of these things are incredibly high. What you're getting is you're getting the sense that you're getting a lot of backlinks and social likes and all these things, right? And some Google Pluses and some Twitters. They're mixing it all in, right? But each one of those components that Social Adder is offering does a very different thing. And what I'm finding is that they don't take those into account. Like a retweet is not the same thing as a bookmark. The answer is it totally depends on how you're using it. And if you're not using it in Sue's downstream perpetual system here, a lot of the times you can get for free and set it up properly the first time and get 10 times the results for what you're paying $100 a month for on some of these social systems. So just really be careful of that. I don't think I can address the specifics around how Sue got her nickname as Dominatrix, Stephen. It would not be appropriate for this call.
You have to come to certification for that.
You can ask Bruce Clay about it, but I'm not going to. Sorry, not enough beers to get into this conversation. That's all that I have to say about that particular thing. Looks like we have more questions coming in. Sue, is there anything else that you want to cover in this thread? Like what's on your mind?
I think I've gotten most of the really exciting stuff off my chest without the help of whiteboards and diagrams. And
yeah, which we'll be doing next week as I invade your office and set up the cameras and so on. Okay. All right. So I think we've done pretty good. We've been on board about an hour.
Yep.
question now or forever hold your peace. I know that's
or at least for the next month.
For the next month, yeah. We are going to be doing a lot. And as you know, we have our live certification event this month. We will still be fully, I'm sorry, next month. Oh my gosh, is it only, oh, I missed a whole month here. We're ramping up this month for next month, so that's why it was really on my mind.
Yep.
Okay. Here's a question for you, Sue. How do you deal with a multi-language site? Yeah, go ahead, Tony. Ask another question as well.
Multi-language. I tend to put each language in their own subdomain so that once somebody's in that particular language, all the links are appropriate. They stay within that language.
Yeah, remember that on Google Universal, guys, the language filter is not the same as the country search engine. That's something I learned early on, which is really quite interesting. I'm hoping that you know that when you're searching for a language, a specific language on the search engine, that's not guaranteeing that your index or crawl within a language index.
Yeah.
So the indexes are different than the language filters. So certain countries will include languages that are popular in that country, like Italy is an example of this with a client I had. Italian and English will both filter into their results. But I had a client that their company was stationed in Spain. It was a giant wedding service company, but they thought that they were indexed in the Italian search engines because they had an office in Italy, but they weren't. They were mistaking their language filter for indexing in the Italian search engine. And then I found out some really weird stuff, which I don't know is true, that you have, in order to get indexed in a foreign engine, you have to have a hosting account and company in some situations in that country in order to be qualified for the. So I don't know what's true about all that too. It
seriously helps your rankings. It
seriously helps your rankings.
If I'm going to do, which is our test site, our next test site for our automation of our networks, we're going to do Scottish Trust Deeds. And because it's specifically targeting Scotland, I need hosting in the UK in order to rank for that well, because the competition there is pretty steep. I mean, it's PageRank 3 and 4, which by American standards isn't that steep, but given the size of Scotland, it's pretty steep.
Yeah.
So if I were to try and host that in the U.S., my ability to rank in Scotland would be severely hampered. So yeah, if you're going to do multiple languages, I mean, most sites, like you've got Canada as your common country that's got multiple languages, right? And if you're going to try and take on multiple languages in the EU, then you might want to consider actually having different domains for your different countries and host them in different places. I haven't gotten that granular. Like, I don't know, you know, if I'm hosting in Germany, can I get ranked in Italy? I haven't done that much work there to be able to say yay, nay, or otherwise. I'm just reporting on what our members in Europe have told me. So.
Yeah, and I do have one client experience with this. This is the Italian Spanish, but it was some time ago. Right. So I don't know what has changed, but it certainly helped incredibly well when they got a hosting company in Italy and then submitted to the Italian index, which is Google dots, whatever that country code is. And they started doing really, really well with that.
And when you translate stuff into multiple languages, you're not going to get hit with the dip content issue because it's in different languages. So if you have exactly the same content and you're doing multiple locales and all you're doing is changing out the cities, Matt Cutts has said that you got to change out more than just the cities, otherwise you will get hit with a dip content penalty. However, I have to say that's not been my experience, but you know, I'm willing to say that at some point in time they won't come back and change that, but that's my experience to date.
And guys, don't use the recent version of Translate for WordPress plugin. It uses TinyMCE. It's still completely hackable. It's just nasty. So, like, until they come up with a solution, I'm just warning you guys to be really careful with that. Not that I was compromised or anything. Okay, so I was compromised through that venue. Literally, somebody from China came in through one of my blogs on my network through the Translate. So just make sure you have everything secured properly in your settings when you install that, because the Google Translate plugin is pretty much compromised right now. Here's a great question for you, Sue.
Okay.
Clarify the best place to set up the landing page, silo, category, and SA.
Supporting articles.
Also, am I correct that the category pages are like blog pages, therefore you can't post to a category page? Implication is that more articles should be SA that will show up under categories. Conclusion, more content under SA posts?
Well, okay, so here's, we needed a word that fit between silo and supporting articles, right? So we chose the word category. It doesn't actually relate to categories on a blog. I know when we start talking about Domain Web Studio and blog in the same breath, people think, people have a tough time knowing whether we're talking about blog categories or whether we're talking about the category level in your website. And I wish at this juncture we'd chosen another name, but we didn't. So, when you're taking your blueprint and you're posting it into a blog, your silo pages become, your silo nodes in your website become static pages. Your category nodes in your website blueprint become static pages.
You have a diagram for this, Sue?
I don't know. The supporting articles become blog posts. Yeah, I do. Just where is it? Is the only question. Not there.
It's also on our wiki under website site architecture.
Okay.
Yeah, main page. Probably get a general diagram or just something that they can hold in their minds,
Sure. Okay. So, this is only 2 levels deep. These would be the silos and these would be the categories. And do we have a better picture?
Probably. Look at case study. Nah.
No pictures.
I'll just go to the search engines. We're all over it. So, if you put website silo architecture and you look in Google Images, most of our stuff is there.
Exactly.
And let's make sure that he understands. There might be some more complicated levels of it.
This works. It's not ours, but it's the same kind of an idea.
Yeah.
So that's your home page. Obviously, these become your silo pages. These become your category. This is exactly it. These are your category pages, and these are your supporting article pages. And so in a blog, when you import this structure into a blog, these are going to become static pages, this level becomes static pages, and this level becomes blog posts. Does that make sense? So the idea, what I tend to do is within Domain Web Studio, if I know I'm going to a blog platform, to an actual blog, I've got a website, and then I'm theme mirroring onto a blog, what I'll do is I'll do the content for the pages that are going to be static pages. I'll go ahead and publish that to the blog, and then the supporting articles I'll write on the fly. Who was that? That was Tony.
Yeah, and so give people a little bit of an idea, and I think this is the common confusion. As far as ranking priority, the reason we set the blog up in this way is to get what pages ranked in what order.
Yeah, it's just because you can get a static page ranked a whole lot easier than you can a blog category page. Like if I'm looking in Network Empire News.
Yeah, like category pages are a challenge. Network Empire News happens to be written in thesis theme. There's a thesis theme. And thesis
right. And these are your categories over here? No, these are all static. Yeah, there's a category.
But, thesis is a weird exception because, see, this is a normal. Thesis actually added a function to be able to add content to a category page, which a lot of blog themes don't have. for this very reason.
Right.
Because
but I don't find that the content, I mean, WordPress has that functionality too, but you can't add images and you can't embed videos and you can't make it really sticky.
Right. Well, you can with Thesis is an exception because you can, but that's my point is that had to be specially written to do that. And obviously, you can see I'm not even using it. So.
Yeah, and so I have another test blog at emarketingfirms.com, and I have been able to get a category page finally after about 6 months ranked. But it's not ranked for any really important terms. But my static pages, they ranked in a heartbeat. So, so that's one of the reasons why we went with the whole static page concept in the Silo plugin.
Yeah. Does that make sense, Tony? Okay. Cool. All right. Well, that's a lot of material we covered today. And the cool thing I want to remind everyone is if you take this complicated stuff about website style architecture, I know it seems like you're going in the deep end at first when you do it, but the good news is that if you go back to our one web ring system, this is the stuff that's really, really important that you slow down and learn for your money site, you know? And then as it begins to make sense, you don't have to be perfect before you launch your website empire, before you launch your network. If you're going to really stay focused on highly technical stuff like this, this is important for your WR1. Can you go back to the one web ring, Sue?
Yeah.
This is going to be really important for your WR1 especially. If you're going to invest a lot of time in creating an architecture that's for your WR1, you'll be glad that you did. And that's why we've been uncompromising with it, because there's no question you can rank for a significant number of additional keywords through a process of siloing and what's called keyword shingling than you could ever do if you didn't have that in your mind. And it's really worth it for the WR1, and that's what Domain Web Studio is about. So if you folks haven't tried Domain Web Studio, I see some guys who are just members, and they're really focused on our social stuff and the rest. I do recommend that you at least go through the process of building a website, silo architecture site, the first time and start checking out your rankings, and you'll be impressed. It's really, really cool. Because then what you're doing is not only getting your traffic for your rankings from your primary site, you're also getting the downstream stuff from quality content that you're creating. DWS makes it easy to organize all this, which would normally take a team of 4 or 5 people. And that's really, really cool and really what we're all about and what we're here to help you learn how to do. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense to you. And if you're interested in Domain Web Studio, just go to networkempire.com. If you're a current member, you can upgrade your membership. And shameless pitch, shameless pitch. Also, very interested, and thanks, Tony, appreciate it. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, Susan, we do have a opening for certification event, yes. Just contact Sue directly. The upgrade, the last keyword tool, is that what you meant, Tony? LK?
Yeah.
Okay. You can upgrade it to the last keyword tool by, how is it, Sue? What's the best upgrade?
Actually, ping me, and I will, I'll just give you a coupon code so that you don't have to unsubscribe to Domain Web Studio and go through that whole...
How to ping? Ping? What is ping? Go ahead. Talk to us at...
Yeah, okay.
What is that, Sue? What do you want? What email?
Just email me at sue@themezoom.com.
Sue@themezoom.com. And the other thing is that part of the things that we're going to be showing you in the upcoming videos is exactly which layer of this system we use, TLKT versus Kraken, and how they're all going to be incorporated into Network Empire and so on and so forth. So that's pretty exciting because we have all these powerful tools, including done-for-you products, and as long as you orchestrate them at the correct time, it gets really cool. And so we're going to be showing you all that. The TLKT, the last keyword tool, benefit over other tools. You're asking me to sell you it? Okay. All right, that's fine. The last keyword tool is the only keyword tool that I use because it provides co-occurrence and Bayesian algorithms. In other words, if I want to know what the conversation actually is, not just like what Google is telling me this keyword is more popular or there's more searches, it has all that, okay? But if I want to know the co-occurrence, Kraken does this too pretty well, if I want to know what the granular keywords are, where the conversations are happening, if the person is talking about keyword research, I want to know not just the more expensive and popular keywords, I also want to know other conversational keywords that they're using that also have money attached to them, like the lesser known and the lesser utilized keywords that maybe Google might give you. I want to know all the conversations and the priority of importance when people are having ordinary conversations on the web about keyword research. I want to be able to click a sort button, which says LSI and co-occurrence or even Bayesian, and find out the lesser popular keywords that people are including in their conversations, because when I scrape those out of TLKT or export them, bring them into Domain Web Studio, I'll know exactly where I should put them in my conversations on my website. Where my competition is not using those conversational keywords, I will be using them. And I love that, because when I go back to my ranking software, when I go back to my weblog files, I start seeing that I'm ranking for terms that my competition is not, because I've thought not just about what Google is dishing me out, here's the keywords you need to be using, but also the conversational, what we call tangent keywords that are also maybe not as popular or not as profitable, but still profitable and popular. I'm including them in my conversation. I'm not getting those words from Market Samurai. I'm not getting those words even from the Google tool, not in the right order, and not corresponding to the pages that I want with my unique selling position and with my uncertainty insurance. So I actually use TLKT for my ISDNA. We teach you this in the certification because I want to know, based on keywords that are painkiller keywords, what other topics are people searching, what other educational constructs are they penetrating into that are related to their uncertainty. I'm not getting those keywords in Google free tool. I'm definitely not getting them from Market Samurai. Okay. So you wanted me to pitch you, Tony. There it is. It's not even a sell. It's how we actually use it in building our own web rings, so that we include something that Sue calls the EPA keyword matrix. That is all of the keywords in your giant semantic net that you want to use. We're just not getting those in the right place or at the right time in the other keyword tools. Okay,
Goran asked a great question that I would love to get into, but it's going to take more than just a few minutes. And that's, how do you turn an existing site into a silo site? And I tell you, the quickest way to lose all of the hair on the top of your head is to try and restructure that existing site. But we can do bolt-on silos onto the side of an existing site. So you basically create your silo structure and then just integrate that into your home page. And that works really nicely. And I'm happy to get into that in much more detail next month if you want to ask me that question again. If you can't wait until next month, then ping me an email or ping us a help desk question, and we'll show you.
Yeah, sure.
I can appreciate that. He's
yeah,
in
Goran,
Moscow, and it's getting pretty late.
Yeah, Goran, you can also, yes, with a multi-language site, you can still do a bolt-on silo. Sue and Matt have a great method for bolt-on silo. You can kind of picture it as grafting. You know how you graft fruit trees? You can take another type of fruit and put on there. There's ways. You don't have to change the genetic structure of the current site, which is nearly impossible.
It's painful.
And incredibly expensive even if you only include your time. So we'll show you that at one of the upcoming events. If you want to come to certification, fly out from Moscow and drop into Phoenix, and we're ready for you.
It's warmer here.
It's warmer, for sure. All right, you guys, this has been ThemeZoom architects Sue Bell and Russell Wright from Network Empire and ThemeZoom.com. We look forward to seeing you guys at the certification event and inside the members area, as well as our next month, first Tuesday of next month. We will be present for you. It's right before our certification event to get into these other topics. Do please contact us with topics that you'd like to include in the monthly how-to event, and we'll be sure to include them in. All right, you guys, awesome. We'll see you on the inside.
Thanks so much, guys. Bye.
The organizer has